Today is July 10th. Paul Skenes, the number 1 overall pick that we've been waiting for. Let's break it down and talk All-Star break in that too. That sounds like fun. You're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins guys, thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I am joined, as always, by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake?
Hey man, what's going on?
Well, we got our guy, as they would say, after every single draft.
Right?
Here I go, already.
It's early, man.
It's early. All right, listen. Number 1 overall pick. I mean, that's going to be the topic of this whole thing, right? Basically.
Yeah.
Paul Skenes. If we're keeping score, and we usually don't, I said on Friday morning's episode that my board was Skenes, Cruz, Langford, Langford, Clark. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Clark, Langford is what I meant to say. I'm looking at the actual prospect rankings. I should have the list already of the draft picks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't even have that pulled up. That would have been a smart thing to do, to have something like that pulled up. So, anyway, Skenes, Cruz, Clark, Langford. Now, just to be fair, I mean, those moved around even after we recorded our episode.
Yeah.
Those moved around for me, including Langford for a minute, even earlier this morning. I was like, because I thought the Pirates were going to pick Langford. I was like, they're going to do this thing. They're going to go after Langford. And I kept thinking to myself, I know that taking the pitcher is risky, but he's a lot like Garrett Cole. There's a little bit less risk there, in a sense of body and things like that. So yes, it's a risk. But my opinion is that sometimes, the phrase, you want big rewards, you got to take big risks. And I just thought that this time around, this might be the risk that's worth it. And that's kind of my thought process on this one. And I feel like maybe the Pirates agreed with that. Where are you with Skenes in particular before we get into anybody else and whatever? Because we can talk about all angles of this if we want. I mean, I know we talked a lot on Friday, but Yeah,
I mean, you keep hearing things from people who know a lot more about these guys, who dig in a lot more about these guys than what we even have capabilities of digging into. Talk about he's a generational talent. How could I not be on board with the pick? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
just I would have been really any 4 of them. I wouldn't have been upset. Even the 5th guy, I still can't remember this guy's
Walker Jenkins. Yeah.
Walker Jenkins. Probably wouldn't have been as excited if it would have been him.
Yeah.
But any 4 of these, or any one of these 4, I would have been okay with. I was a little bit nervous about taking the pitcher because of workload, but dude didn't throw that much at Air Force. And I didn't realize that when I had said that. So I don't think that is the body breaking down is as much of an issue as I thought it could have been. I think he's a big body kid. His workload wasn't as high as I thought it was. So I feel better about that. I'm just going back on some of the things that I've said before.
Yeah.
And now that the pick's in and now that I have a little more knowledge too, even because some of that stuff I said didn't know as much as I thought I did about the kid. You know what I
I
mean?
think a lot of people could admit that about a lot of
Yeah.
different players. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, his first year at Air Force, he was a relief pitcher. 48 games at the plate, hit 410 and 11 homers.
Hmm.
And he only pitched 26 innings with 11 saves, 270 ERA. I mean, lights out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then it was his sophomore year, just last year, still hit 314 with 13 homers, but he also added 15 starts, 85 innings, and he was a starter. So pitched to a 273, struck out 96 in 85 innings. And then obviously when he went to Louisiana State, he did not hit.
Right.
He went pitcher only and just focused on pitching, and that tells you why the jump was what it was. When you decide to focus on something, and he turns in the year that he turned in, 169 ERA in 19 games, 122 and 2/3 innings, which is the thing, you know what I mean? That's where you're kind of like, okay, but 209 strikeouts to 20 walks. He had less walks this year than he did the year before at Air Force.
Yeah, and it's people keep talking about we don't have a pitcher like of this caliber, and a lot of that for me is that 20 walks. Like we have a pitcher who's going to be able to command the strike zone. Like go attack these guys. Like I ain't scared of you. I'm not going to pitch around you. I'm coming to go get you. And I'm going to get you out too, by the way. I'm not just going to come and get you and get raked.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, he's very special, and he's that kind of a guy that will ace the rotation. And now you can say, my goodness, in a couple years, Keller's number 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And now the pressure starts kind of piling up to say, well, we don't want to get into this necessarily, but you could start thinking about this stuff, and it's, food for thought. But, okay, do you extend Keller now? You got to get him so that you have that number 2 guy. Let's get Keller
Right.
extended out
Right.
for maybe, so the two of these can be a 1-2 punch. You're not going to re-sign Skenes. We've already talked about this. No matter who you drafted here, you aren't going to sign him. Like, these guys are all special. I mean, maybe, yeah, any of these 4, you're likely not re-signing them, or you're not likely not signing them to an extension. They are top tier stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is really,
You
like,
might be able to get a small extension. But kind of like a get them early, sign them, maybe buy a couple years of free agency. You might be able to do that.
It's unlikely. It's unlikely bringing in college guys. Maybe Max Clark. If that's it. But bringing in the college guys, they're going to hit free agency at a certain age. It's the Brian Reynolds thing all over again. I mean, I know you locked that one up, but he's not at the level that these guys are, right? And so I think that's the kind of thing that, if they're not going to be here, I'm looking at Skenes, but I don't know the ages of say Cruz and Langford right off the top of my head. But matter of fact, I might be able to, because I do have that other thing pulled up. So they're all 321. I'm not going to dig into their birthdays and when they're turning whatever, but you're talking about making their debuts at 23. You know what I mean? Like, or being on the team
at 29, 30.
You know what I'm saying? They're not going to give that up unless they land on a team like Dylan Cruz, who lands on the Nationals. He might, because they'd be willing to go 300 million. You know what I mean, or whatever.
Right.
But it just that doesn't feel like it's something that you're going to get to do with any of these guys outside of Max Clark, who, if he can fast track, which I don't know how quick he's going to be, but like if you had somebody like that, maybe you could talk about, if he's 4 years away, even he's getting there a year or two early. You know what I'm saying? Than these guys are. So I don't know. Yeah. If he's 3 years away, then you might be able to get him there get him to an extension where you can get him until he's 28, 29. These guys are already looking at that. You know what I mean? Especially if they mess around with service time and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like you just don't know. The thing is like, okay, so now, I mean, I don't know. What do we need to say about Paul Skenes? I mean, the guys, I saw one guy on ESPN say something about you can give these guys, these hitters, what was it? They're going to be all-stars for sure. But Paul Skenes, you're going to make a statue for him. And I'm like, well, probably not. But like, that's a crazy thing to say. And I probably don't agree with that, especially because in today's game, you're going to play 5-6 years with a team. You're going to move on to a big contract. You're just not going to be in a place where you're going to be able to do something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe if you hit age 30 and you win 4 Cy Youngs throughout your 30s and 4 World Series or something like that, a place might decide something, you know what I mean? But
but that's a big statement.
I mean, come on. So anyway, either way, if you feel good about what Garrett Cole brought to the Pirates at 1-1, and he was a very good pitcher, and towards the end of that thing, he had a little issue with home runs. And we moved him, and it wasn't quite the return that we wanted and whatever, and then he blows up. Because sometimes that's what happens, right? Mm-hmm. But the point is he was a very good pitcher. I mean, he got Cy Young votes the one year in Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it was there. He was very good. Now, he was more of a, we keep losing Jake in these things. I think he's coming back in now.
I don't know what's going on, man. Am I there?
You're there now.
All right.
We just kept rolling. It wasn't that long. So anyway, fine. Like, if this is a better version of Garrett Cole as far as the caliber, as far as the prospect, what they expect, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you say? What do they, I guess it's just prospect, right? I mean, these are the prospect rankings. So they make the Steven Strasburg comp because everybody says that as far as the top pitching prospect ever in the draft was Steven Strasburg. And they're saying this is the best since Strasburg. So he's, upper echelon.
Yeah, and as soon as they come out with a new MLB prospect list, he's going to be in the top 5.
Oh, yeah, and he's certainly the number 1 Pirates prospect tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or as soon as he signs. As soon as he signs. Yeah. He's going to be the number 1 prospect for the Pirates. And, and I've heard several other people on their lists and everything say, we've got some good prospects, some good pitching arms. We've got good, but like immediately he's better than all of them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that kind of makes me, and that's why I said Friday, I'm probably going Skenes, and I think the Pirates will go Skenes. Yeah. I just think they will. And you don't draft for need. So like, I can't say like, well, we really needed to draft Cruz because we need a center fielder. You just don't do that. You always need pitching first off. So I don't count that as drafting for need. Everybody needs pitching.
Right.
And so to me, that's not drafting for need. And really Dylan Cruz didn't have to be either. Like he's just that good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wouldn't have had to have been, we need a center fielder. We could have had a center fielder and it still would have made sense to draft Dylan Cruz.
Right. And when you're saying you don't draft for needs, you're talking about you don't draft for needs of your major league ball club.
Or even your system.
I think you can draft for your needs in your system. Like
you can, but they say, the whole thing is like you don't. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know where, and if you disagree with that, that's fine. But
yeah, I mean, I just don't, I'm not saying I mean, sure, I disagree, but not to the extent of, I think you're crazy. I mean, if you don't have any good center fielders in your system, I take the best center fielder. If he's not far and below the best player available. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have a few guys and you're like, you got to narrow it down to, okay, we need to get one of these 2 or 3 guys. Okay, well, what do we need in our system at that level at where he would come in and actually start progressing to where to me, that makes sense. If you got it narrowed down and you're like, well, we don't have any center fielders. Good call. Let's take the center fielder.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. I think you could draft for needs once you narrow down, but you don't draft for needs as far as, oh, let's drop down, clear down to 15 on this guy because he's a center fielder.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, and I think that's what I'm saying is like you don't, if you're looking at Skenes and you're looking at Cruz, if you like Skenes more, right? And this is the one thing that you know that all these front offices are looking at. They're talking to them, they're talking to parents, they're talking to agents. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of this conversation that goes on that doesn't just include what you watched on TV in the College World Series. There's a lot more. What's the kid about? What's, you know what I'm saying? What's the motivation? What's the workouts like? Which obviously these aren't questions for Cruz necessarily either. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
like I'm sure they were impressed with his work ethic and impressed with his, a lot of the things that he brought to the table as well. Because of course they were. Like this dude's awesome too. This was really like three guys at the top as far as the college guys go. And I think for me, if 1-1, the way the Pirates are looking right now, I would have been excited about any of the top three guys. Max Clark for me would have been I get it. If they thought he was the top talent, like if the Pirates did their thing, I'm not saying I think he is, I'm not saying everybody, but if the Pirates did their homework, which we know they do, everyone does. That's why I say that everyone does. So whether you think the Pirates don't or not, that's you just trying to make something up because they all do their homework. They're not just not doing anything.
Right.
If the Pirates did their homework and they thought, we think pound for pound, the most talented player in this draft is Max Clark. And I've heard people say that. I've heard people say he has the most guaranteed tools. He's the most complete player in the draft. You're gonna have a little less power than maybe Langford, but maybe not. Maybe the same as Cruz, but he could also, like, he's young, so he could also develop more. So there's a potential for even more. But either way, he's the most sure thing in center field. And you know what I mean? So if they look at that and they say, we think this guy is actually the best player, then I still think the Pirates, because they were 1-1, I still think they could have been motivated to go one of these other guys at 1-1 who are college bats or arms, like or Skenes, just for the fact that, like, but they're just about there too. Like they're there too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even if, like, when you're looking at guys that are, and I'm just really talking about the depth of this draft alone, is, and I'm going to just use the three bats as an example because they would be the most comparable. They're all very close. And really throw in Walker Jenkins if you want. I just don't know that much about him, and I've said that a couple times, and I understand that. But like, if they're that close, then there's no problem looking at need a little bit. But I think for the Pirates, their need was, let's get a college guy. Let's get him in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, regardless of whether it was going to be, I don't think the Pirates had to think about that, because I think when it came to it, they said, well, we like the arm, and there's only one arm.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude the Reds got, Lawler. Did I say that right? Rhett Louder. Man, I knew it. I remember Rhett because that's like a name, you know what I mean?
Right.
But he's the long-haired dude for Wake Forest. Pitched some gems in the College World Series. If you guys were following I hardly ever, you follow the College World Series so much more than I do. But when the Pirates had the 1-1, I tended to pay attention a little bit more.
Right.
But anyway,
I had a hard time following this year with the newer job. So
sure. So anyway, Rhett Louder went to the Reds, number 7. Also a very good pitcher, but not a guy who was going to go 1-1.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So this was Skenes or it was a hitter. And so the Pirates decided that Skenes was the way to go. And yeah, I mean, that's,
so
I saw a couple. Go ahead.
I got a question for you. I
Yeah.
got a question for you. What do you think the odds are? What do you think the chances are that Skenes not starts because he's a starting pitcher, but breaks opening day on the Pirates roster next year?
No, I think it's 0%.
You think 0%?
I think it's 0%. I think they shut him down for the most part this year. And I can't imagine how you could throw him right there after shutting him down.
Yeah. I just think he's that good of a pitcher that I think there is a small chance that they let him throw a little bit over the winter, and then if he comes out in the spring and just looks dominant,
I
I don't
think
know.
you could. I think. I think you'd be better positioned to make a case for him to start in Double A rather than Greensboro or
Yeah.
Bradenton.
I think there's almost no chance he starts in
And
down
Braden,
there. I think he starts no lower than Double A.
see, I don't know that. I don't know why.
Well, yeah, I don't either, but
I,
that's why I said I think.
yeah,
I just
I that's again, that's really aggressive and that's fine. But like, why wouldn't you do like a month in Greensboro and then move up? You're like, why wouldn't they? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see him going to Bradenton. You know what I mean?
right,
But
right.
Greensboro, maybe. I mean, I guess you could make the case that because Greensboro is a hitter's park, you don't want to start him off there. You just start him off at Double A, maybe. Um, but no, I don't. There's no chance he's on the MLB team next year. I can't imagine that being true. There's got to be something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
No,
there's got
yeah.
to be. I mean, 122 innings this year, and they were jam packed. So like, you're gonna spread that out, and you're gonna give him 120, 130 innings, 140. I don't know. It depends on how it goes, but you just took a big risk.
Right.
I think the only way he's on the Pirates in 24 is if they're making a run. I think that's it.
Yeah.
If they're hovering 500, maybe playing with a wild card, or they're in a wild card spot, then I see maybe like, maybe let's bring him up. You know what I'm saying? Let's give
Yeah.
him a shot. Otherwise, I mean, he certainly goes from Double A to Triple A, and I think he's there in 25. I think he could get
Yeah.
a cup of coffee at the end of the year next year, but I wouldn't see them pushing him that way unless they're in a run.
Yeah, I could see a like a David Price type thing that we've talked about
We talked
before
about that. Yeah, once
before
again,
making a run.
yeah, once again, you don't know if it ends up being a bullpen spot or I think from most of what they do, I mean, when Rowanzi came up, we're not looking at this year. When he came up, it was a start, and it wasn't long, but it was a start.
Mm-hmm.
And most of these guys, when they've come up, they've started. Even Oviedo, I think most of his first
But
appearances were all starting.
but here's my thing. Here's my comp here with the David Price. It's not Roanzi Contreras.
Right.
It's not
Yeah, David
these
Price
guys.
is a
Like this is
1-1. Skenes is
different.
a 1-1. You're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
that's a good point.
Skenes is gonna be
Go
you
ahead.
bring this dude up and he's just gonna be lights out for an inning. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah, you will treat a 1-1 differently. You're right. And you can't go back as far as looking at Garrett Cole or somebody. I mean, that was a different organization.
right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like it's a whole different like
Yeah.
organization. There's different people. They're going to make
Yeah.
different decisions. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like you can't look at anything that they've done in the past and say like, well, this is what they'll do because they did that with Garrett Cole or with Stan Belinda. Like, dudes, it was somebody different. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't do that.
Yeah.
Stan Belinda.
I
I
you
should
know,
have said like
I
Chris
just look
Benson,
at
right? That would have made more sense.
it would have. It would have. That's funny.
I threw Stan Belinda out there.
But yeah, I don't think there's any chance
Okay,
that he's
I
on the
liked it.
roster next year, but
I like to bring stuff like that up. I like that.
yeah.
So, the guys we missed out on. I thought this was really interesting. You and I talked a lot about Max Clark on Friday, and I kind of bumped him above Langford in my estimation. some of that may have been because he was relatively new to me. And so when somebody's new, you get excited about him. It's kind of a lot of the reasons why Dylan Cruz, I said, oh, well, they're pushing other people up because of fatigue. And so, like I said, I switched more and more and more. New to the Max Clark thing. And I really, for me, for what I wanted the Pirates to do, I really didn't want them to go the 18-year-old route. You were intrigued by that. And that's, you know what I mean? That's fine. I think some people were because of Termarr and saying like, well, let's get that next wave. You do have time to get that next wave still. And I think that's probably where I was going is like, well, but you could just you could keep drafting college bats. Termarr will keep coming up, but there will be new people that will also contribute to the wave or whatever. But there were moments. I mean, a lot of people talked about Langford, and I was like, you know, I tell you what, if I want the pitcher, there's only one pitcher for me. And so like in my head, I thought if I was trying to make this decision, which I'm not trying to, but if I'm trying to make this decision, I'm picking between bat or pitch. And ultimately, I kept choosing pitch because of what this could be and how hard it is to get something like that, I think is what it came down to. You can get talent on the offensive side, and it's not like in any given night, that guy, yes, he plays every day, but there's also 8 other guys in that lineup that could also contribute. And so there's like part of that makes me think, well, maybe the pitching is certainly more important. I mean, everybody who's gone through, they've said you can't win championships without pitching. Can't win, you know what I'm saying? And we've even seen that as true. You get into a playoff series and it's like, man, we're really good this day, but maybe we're outmatched another day. And so we got to get through that game. And you know what I'm saying? Like just little things like that, or approaching, and we don't have this situation anymore because MLB finally came to their senses and, went right side up instead of upside down when they decided to think and decided that a 1-game playoff is a terrible idea for baseball. Yeah. However, we ran into Arrieta and Bumgarner and we saw firsthand what that type of pitcher, that type of ace can do for you in that 1-game playoff. And I mean, yes, we beat Cueto, and Cueto was one of those guys. Let's not kid around. He was one of those guys, and Liriano really wasn't. And we were throwing it together with guys that were good, and they were good at what they do. We just didn't have that ace. Cole wasn't quite that guy yet, and maybe he was in some of the other years, but this is a guy who can pitch a game like that and make you say like, yeah, but we've got Skenes going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if you got Jake Arrieta going. We've got Skenes going. By the way, got a buddy who's down at a Cal Ripken event right now. And Jake Arrieta is coaching one of the teams down there. He texted me about it. And I said, he's evil. He said, I'll punch him in the face for you.
Man, it's crazy. I was just going to say you should have told him to punch him in the face for you.
Yeah, he's going to punch him in the face. And I told him, he's a Reds fan, this guy, but I told him, tell him it's from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So I think he'll do it. I mean, he's a cool guy. So anyway, that's me on the pitching side. When I looked at the hitters, I really, for me, and I know a lot of people disagree with this, and it's fine. I mean, we all have our different things, right? Dylan Cruz or Wyatt Langford, the more we got closer to this draft, I thought, these guys are this. I can't tell you how many people I heard say in this podcast or that podcast or this article or that one or on TV or whatever. I can't tell you how many people I've heard say Langford and Cruz will probably put the same like production on your team. Like they're gonna look similar production wise. They're going to get there a different way. Langford's going to have more power. Cruz is going to be a better hitter. And so, but like in the end, they're going to go a different route, but they're going to get to a similar area. They're both going to be that good, a difference maker. And the more I kept hearing about, like, I think people are underselling Langford in this way. Like, he played a corner, but he also can play center. Well, how much? Well, I don't know. We play corner outfielders in center field all the time. So if he's just younger than Sawinski and Reynolds, he gets center field. I don't care. And, I just don't. And really, Sawinski, I mean, other than the fact that, like, you're just waiting for that diving catch, he did make a sliding catch today off the bat. Corbin Carroll up, so he hit it pretty good. Or he can hit it pretty good. So he started back, and then he had to come in. And he slid in, and I was like, he made up for, his read. That line drive right at you's tough.
Yeah.
And he closed in on it and slid down and made the catch. But other than that, I mean, he's been fine.
Yeah.
Just long term, that's not somebody that I, envisioned in center. Either way, rabbit trail. Wyatt Langford and the idea that the power is better was intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that, like, how many times do we talk about there are no positional identities, right? We talk about this all the time. I actually was watching the fan forum live stream a little bit earlier tonight, and somebody said something about Hayes, and I said, the positional identities, they're gone, man. But think about Hayes at third and the defense that he gives and the fact that he is a third baseman with less power. And if we don't get power from third base, because that's a traditional offensive identity for a third baseman to have power, you have to get it somewhere else. And so you say, well, you got Cruz at short, so you're going to get that power there. But anymore, is shortstop not a power position? And the problem is a lot of times you have to spell that with power at first base. And we don't have that. So give me power in the corners and the outfield. Well, you're going to get a little bit from, or not a little bit, but I hopefully you're going to get that power from Sawinski.
Mm-hmm.
But like, okay, Reynolds. I mean, Reynolds is more of like a Cruz, maybe a little more power. If he can continue to, I mean, right now it doesn't look like it, but like last year with 27, if he could continue on that trajectory and maybe hit a 30 number or whatever, then maybe a little bit more, but otherwise 20 to 30 in that range, like that's probably a Dylan Cruz. But like Wyatt Langford is like multiple years of 30 plus, you would think, you know what I mean? And so when you lack power in other places and your hitting coaches your team as if you're loaded with power, let's walk a lot and then not be able to score them because we don't have power. Then that's why Langford started sounding interesting to me. Ultimately, I like the pitcher route. But I just wonder, like, is there any of you that, like, when I was watching the draft, and I know you were still working for these early picks, but like when Dylan Cruz's name got called and you saw that Washington W by his name, I was really excited about Skenes. But then I saw that and I was like, oh, man. I didn't necessarily, like when Langford went to the Rangers, I didn't have the same feeling, but maybe because the Max Clark going above and then Langford falling to the Rangers, I just kind of thought, geez, the Rangers are going to be nasty because they got some of these guys locked up for a minute and they just called up like Josh Young and, they're going to be nasty. Anyway, when Dylan Cruz went to the Nationals, I did kind of think like, no matter what you did this year, you were going to miss out on somebody.
Yeah.
And I think if we would have picked Cruz, I would have been pumped just the same. And then I would have seen Skenes go to the Nationals, which he would have. And I'd have been like, oh, man, what if he's just nasty? What if he's dominant? Yeah. What if he's Strasburg, Scherzer, the 9 yards?
But that's the thing. We can play the what if game all we want.
It's
you
the
just
best
never know
thing.
Until you know.
It's the best thing about being the GM of the Washington Nationals tonight. Because you didn't miss out on a player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You knew that somebody was already gone before you got a pick. So you weren't going to miss out on anyone. You were just going to say, we got Cruz, man.
Yeah.
Or we got Skenes. But in this case, Cruz. But like the Pirates had to actually say, we're not going to select this guy. And it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wild to think about. Any of these picks? I mean, we talked about all these guys. So like, there it is, Max. I mean, we knew Dylan Cruz was. We knew that those two were going to top. I thought, unless the Pirates got cute.
So, the first time in the history that
Yeah,
the same school had 1 and 2.
yeah. So I think that's not a surprise. I think that the
No.
only way the Nationals had a decision is if the Pirates got cute and they went after Clark or Langford. God forbid anyone else. But after one of those two, and I still, like I said, I still would have been like, for Max Clark, I would have been like, okay, I see what you're doing. For Wyatt Langford, I still would have been excited.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would have been as satisfied though, in hindsight.
It's fair.
But so we knew Dylan Cruz. So what about the Wyatt Langford Max Clark thing? Does any of this, like, what do you think of this? Any thoughts on this since we've looked into these guys and everything?
I mean, we could play we I know we're on a podcast, so it's kind of what we're doing is playing the game, but
Yeah, I mean, that's all. Yeah.
but Max Clark was intriguing to me.
No. I mean, sorry, more specifically, like Max Clark to the Tigers, Wyatt Langford to the Rangers. Like, just, like not to the Pirates.
I got you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know. I don't think too much about it. I think we you talk about Texas being kind of a hitter friendly ballpark. That bodes well for Langford.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I mean, you just never know with a guy as young as Max Clark. You just don't know,
Right.
how a lot of his stuff's going to translate, and you don't know if they get a good deal and end up trading him somewhere else. I don't think that would happen, but if they think they're in something and they can land like a whoever the big name pitcher is that year.
Yeah. I
And it
almost
takes
wonder if
that.
he's just there when their window opens.
Right.
Riley Green is their last like kind of big deal thing, and he was another high school outfielder. So I think they're pretty satisfied with that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody else notable like Jacob Wilson, Jack Wilson's kid. He went number 6 to the A's. Sorry, man, that you went to that team, but maybe by the time you're there, they're in Vegas. I don't know. But he's kind of I think 6 surprised me a little bit for him, but I guess I don't know because where else did I have him? You know what I mean? He probably would have been a top 10, not somebody the Pirates would have picked. But the Reds had a good draft already. Rhett Lauder, the pitcher, and then they went and got Ty Floyd. Who was the other guy? I thought there was another guy they got too. They had like 3 dudes right out. Oh, they picked a shortstop right after we did.
Yeah.
Hold on. We are getting close to our 3rd pick. The Pirates are. So let me go back to that round 2. Yeah, they picked the high school shortstop right after we picked Mitch Jebb. All right, so let's move on here. I think we've ran this thing as far as we could. I'm not going down through a lot of that, but Mitch Jebb. That's our 2nd pick, number 42 overall. He was ranked number 46, and then the Reds picked right after us a guy who was ranked 32nd, so that's kind of weird when they're both the same position. Now, the difference is one guy is I'm looking for his age here, and they don't have it on this page. Anyway,
he's probably 20 or 21 because you
he's
got to play 2 years.
4-year junior, so he's probably 21. And then the other kid that the Reds got was a high school senior. So you could see the Pirates maybe saying, let's go for the college here. This is one of those examples of like, I don't care who you have in your organization right now.
Right.
You might say we have a lot of shortstops, but like, it doesn't matter if they like this guy, then that's what they're going for.
Right.
And maybe there was another guy they liked that was still available who was a higher ranked prospect, but maybe that 32 that's going to be an overslot by 10. And so you'd have to pay him a little bit more. So if you didn't want to do that, then I guess if the next guy you liked would have been underslot, because that Yohandy Morales was just picked 40 and he was ranked 20. So he's going to have to take a lot less. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I wonder if this isn't also an underslot. Maybe they like some of the deeper guys and they can kind of pull some of those guys away from college by offering them a little bit more. I don't really know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's really tough because I think this shows why Paul Skenes was the guy they were going to draft, or Dylan Cruz. If they wanted him, they would have went for him. But I don't think this is the reason why they didn't get cute and say, well, let's save money here, because they didn't have another pick until 42.
Right.
And if they didn't feel like there wasn't, I mean, none of these guys, once you get down that low, are like, whoa. I think Yohandy Morales is probably the only one I'm looking at on this page, and that he was number 40, that I was like, I can't believe you dropped that far.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know a ton about a lot of these guys, but like a lot of high school guys at this point. So I don't know. I think when it gets down to it, I think this was probably just the guy that they liked that made the most sense. But
yeah,
he looks like he can play short, he can run, and he can hit, but not really for power. But like I know I saw a couple people say, well, he hit one home run. Well, he hit one home run this year, but last year he had 6. So, I mean, still not a lot, but like, you know, it's not like he's going to be a banjo hitter entirely.
Right.
You grow up a little bit, you put a little man weight on, you know, maybe you become a guy who's, I don't know, a 10 to 12 homer guy, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Which isn't a lot, but I mean, that's like Jordy Mercer type stuff, but looks like the guy's fast, unlike Jordy. And his average is like, even this year he was 337, 438 on base, but last year he was 356, 448 with a 959 OPS and a 933. Like, I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Just see how we can develop him.
Yeah, I mean, he's like I said, he is 21, so he'll be 22. You know, whatever. We'll see. Mitchell Lewis Jebb. Another Michigan guy.
Yeah.
Like Nate McLouth. All right.
Brought up Nate McLouth.
Nate McLouth was a Michigan guy. He had
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah. All right. Pirates are next for their 67th pick in the competitive B after the second round. I think that's all they're doing tonight. But so we'll see where they are.
1 through 70. So that.
Oh, they are doing 1 through 70. So there's another round after this. Oh, there's a round 2C, just 3 teams: Cubs, Giants, Braves. So we'll see who the next guy the Pirates pick is as we go. But, dude, the draft is pretty fun.
It's becoming more fun each year too.
Yeah, and I think the more we lean into teams lean into like college bats, I think it makes it a little bit more fun, because maybe they will be a little bit quicker here. When they limited how many people were in the minor leagues, I think that changed a little bit. You're going to let guys go to college and let them play a little bit. The great thing about guys like Cruz and Langford is the over top of a Max Clark is you saw them play. We got the pick here. You saw them play. Xander with a Z. Xander Muth. Mueth. I don't like going into names before I check them or hear somebody else say them, but ranked 82, ranked 83, 55 fastball, 55 slider, 50 changeup, control 45. So right-hander, 18 years old, out of Mississippi, 6'6". High school arm.
Nice.
So 92 to 94, peaks at 97, heavy sink, runs 82 80 to 82 slider sweeps in the opposite direction from his heater and breaks so much that he sometimes struggles to land it for strikes. So it's a development, you know what I'm saying? It's a development thing. It's not bad. Mississippi
promising
recruit.
with the with that much break. A young kid might not know how to control it.
It's interesting because it says Belleville East, Illinois. Oh, he was committed to Mississippi.
Oh.
He's from Illinois. So then this is one of those things. If you like this 6'6" dude who looks like he throws gas and has a nasty curveball that he can't even throw for a strike yet, and you want to develop that, then maybe that's a guy who you may have to dangle a little bit of money in front of him in order to get him to stick with you.
Sure.
Something like that. Xander Muth. I'm going with Muth for right now, but we'll see. The slot's 1.13, so depending on how things go with everybody else, that's where we're at. That's all of it for tonight. So I can close that window. And the draft is kind of fun. I like the way I think some people don't, but I like the way they're doing this, making it part of the All-Star festivities and that.
Yeah.
And so I know we're big in the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game, probably more the Home Run Derby. I think it's the greatest of all of our big sports. I think it's the top event as far as like what it is. I think it's the coolest. Slam dunk contest. You've seen it all. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the thing is like the home runs, like the way that, and I like the way they've done it now where I don't like it. I don't like the bracket style, but it does give it a new feeling. If they would take the slam dunk contest and say, no, it's this guy versus this guy, because you've seen all the dunks. I can't do any more tricks. Home runs are home runs. I'm not like trying to do a home run and a trick at the same time. And so like if you're doing that, then I think the novelty wears off sometimes. I can't tell you the last time I've even seen highlights from a dunk contest.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
Like Muggsy Bogues, like come on, man. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like I just don't. I have no idea. Now, granted, I don't pay attention to basketball, but it's just one of those things. I love the home run derby because it's easy. The layout is easy, and maybe the slam dunk contest is similar to that. But it's outdoors. It's in the middle of summer. It's just beautiful. I went to a home run derby in Cleveland. I thought it was incredible.
I forgot you went to that.
Yeah, it was awesome. So anyway. We got Luis Robert Jr., Adley Rutschman, first off. Adolis Garcia and Randy Arozarena, which I think is kind of interesting. To me, that sounds like slam dunk Garcia wins it by 100. Mookie Betts and Vlad Guerrero. And then Pete Alonso and Julio Rodriguez, which means
Pete Alonso gets eliminated in the first round.
How do you pit Alonso immediately against the hometown guy? Like immediately. That could have been the highlight.
Yeah.
And we're doing it in the very first round.
Could have been the highlight again, you mean?
Did those two go at it? Or do you mean
in the finals?
Well, Pete Alonso wasn't in it last year.
And then it was the year before. No, he was. He won it last year.
He has not won.
Juan Soto won it last year.
I was going to say, because he did the 2 in a row, and then he didn't go for the 3-peat. Because a lot of people are saying 3 in a row, and it's like, it's not 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think you want to, like, with Pete Alonso, like, he's built for the home run derby. And so you're telling me you're going to put your hometown, I mean, obviously they just picked it by how many home runs they had.
Right.
All right, so Julio's first. Vlad versus Betts. Pick it.
Vlad.
I thought so too. Garcia over Rosarena and Luis Robert over Rutschman.
Yeah.
Garcia over Luis Robert?
It's tough.
Well, that's what I'm picking. And I'll go Vlad.
Just to make it a little different, I'll go Roberts.
And I'm going to go... Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to go Vlad to win it all. I don't even really particularly like that once I got through it.
He's so good at the home run derby, though.
I know. but he's also good at baseball, and he hasn't been as good this year. So,
Woo.
What?
I think Julio wins it.
I like that. Hey, there's a bracket out there, guys. You can submit it. I don't think I'm submitting that yet. I'm gonna have to think over that. All right, baseball. Other than the home run derby, are you doing anything for the home run derby Monday night? You do
Playing
something?
softball.
Playing softball. Monday night's my softball night too.
Having my own home run derby, hopefully.
There you go. I set it to record so that I could start it over and then just fast forward through stuff and catch up.
Yeah.
Either that or we'll land at Roosters and watching it at Roosters.
Yeah.
And then I'll just go to where I left off because it lasts really long.
I do have to work at 5 a.m. on Tuesday, so we'll see.
You can do anything for one day?
100%. You better believe I'm going to stay and watch the whole thing. I just don't know if I'm going to go somewhere and watch it.
So are you big in the All-Star game? I mean, I like to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I like to, if I'm available, I like to watch it.
Well, it's happening Tuesday.
I like to, see if our guys get to participate on the field.
Do you think Keller gets in? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Not after just throwing there. Bednar maybe.
Bednar is going to be he might throw an inning.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe not.
How many pitches did he throw? We'll say Sunday.
Bednar threw just 18.
Yeah, he'll probably get in.
I mean, so Robbie asked him afterwards if he'd be willing to give up his inning for somebody else who is there for their first time. And he said, no, I'm just kidding. He said, yeah.
Well, of course he would, because that happened for him.
Well, that's what they were saying. Would you pay it forward the same way Edwin Diaz did? And he said, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, what else is he going to say?
Right.
He's also just not going to not say that.
Right.
So, hey guys, you get like a whole week without the Pirates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like kind of a whole week, like, weekdays. Back at it Friday. You get your whole work week before you have to watch another game. That's either good for you or bad for you.
You worded that pretty correctly. Before you have to watch another game.
I think a lot of people kind of feel that way, especially coming into this.
It's sad.
It's nice going in and winning your last game, but it's also like we have to understand what this year has been about and will be about. And it's these guys who are struggling, these guys like Henry Davis getting a cup of coffee, getting an opportunity to do well and also to struggle well and to come out of that. We need those sort of things. Jack Sawinski, what this year could be for him as we see all the things that are good about him, but he's starting to hit lefties a little bit.
Yeah.
We have to continue to give him those opportunities. We're starting to see those types of things. Henry Davis is going to be there learning from Hedges. And I think it's important. I mean, I watched him catch for that inning the other night. He's jittery. He's, you know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't have thought it. That was the one thing that I wouldn't have thought. I would have thought, what's the problem? Is he's not good at calling games? Like there's got to be a way that, you know what I mean? You can get a game plan and have somebody else helping him with a game plan. Now, 8th inning, going up there with, Moretta on the mound. I don't know how you prepare for something like that, but essentially, you have to understand those sort of things. And I'm like, I don't know how you do that. You just, you go for. But it looked different, and maybe it's the fact that we have Delay and Hedges who are very good behind the plate. The calmness of their body, I wouldn't have ever recognized until I watched Henry Davis for that inning. Because he's jittery. He doesn't get the glove up until very late. He's kind of moving around a lot. And there is just a calmness to the others that when they, you know what I'm saying? He did steal a strike at one point. So I saw that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there was something where I could see you saying how comfortable I am throwing to you. Well, if you're a still target, I think I feel a little more comfortable throwing to you. So I think maybe things like that. I'm also not going to leave out that he might have been a little bit nervous.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. I mean, like, this was his first chance to catch the big leagues.
I wonder if big
So
leaguers like him actually still get nervous for like an opportunity like that.
yeah.
A 1-1 pick, you know what I mean? Or even anybody who would have gone in the top 5, if you want to say it that
Yeah.
way.
I mean, you would think it would have to wear on you a little bit.
It's interesting. I just don't know how I would, you know what I mean?
Expectations are way up, you know?
Yeah. Well, but in this case, I mean, he's not oblivious, I'm sure. I'm sure
Right.
he knows there are a lot of people doubting his catching ability.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would think he would put a lot of pressure on himself to say, I've got to show up here if I want to catch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Kind of cool. Is there anything else? I mean, I know this was mostly about the draft, and it was always gonna be. We have the All-Star game coming up. We just had a West Coast trip where we won 2 games, and par for the course. We've got some rough roads ahead of us. Hopefully, we can get hot a few times and have some fun. But otherwise, like, do you have anything else for today? I mean, we're close to our hour here.
Not really. I mean, let's just enjoy the break right now and just take in some of the All-Star festivities and take a little break with the Pirates.
Yeah. I like to pay attention to some of these guys. Sometimes you get into the All-Star break, especially now that like I do so much looking up stuff for the Pirates that sometimes I don't watch as much baseball as normal. And so there's some guys that I haven't seen that are going to be playing in this game that I'm kind of excited to watch. But yeah, that's all. All-Stars. All-Star week is kind of fun. A lot of Ken Griffey Jr. stuff going on right now. I got to tell you, I didn't even play that, did I?
No, you didn't.
Oh, I'm going to right now.
With the first pick of the 2023 MLB Draft, the Pittsburgh Pirates pick Paul Skenes, right-handed pitcher from LSU.
Wow! So there you have it.
I'm interesting. Like the crowd was like a mix between screams and like. What did you? I don't know. I guess I was kind of surprised at the reaction.
I mean, there wasn't a ton of people there, and they're in Seattle,
Right?
so what do they care who the Pittsburgh Pirates take? Most of them. You know what I mean?
I don't know how many Pirates fans there really were there. You think they plant fans there from every team?
Maybe. I mean, that's a possibility.
Just at the
But
draft,
how many
they're
of
just
them were just
planting
like,
fans
oh, he's got to go to the Pirates because they don't even know.
there. That's funny.
They don't know.
when they played that video with McCutcheon
So good.
to get ready, and I'm just like, oh, man, that was really cool. And then they say to announce the pick, they do the whole Ken Griffey Jr. thing, and I'm like, guys, if there's any like McCutcheon, because he's a Pirate, has risen in like my all-time favorite players pretty high. But my all-time favorite player is still Ken Griffey Jr. Always will be. And so like anything, so you get me with the Kutch. And then you go through the Ken Griffey Jr. stuff and I'm like, "Oh man, that's awesome. Back to back." Then they're like, "Oh, he's going to come out and announce the Pirates pick." And I was like, "Are you kidding me right now?" And Katie looks over. She's like, "You gonna cry?" I'm like, "Shut up." No.
You leave me alone.
No. But I was just like, oh man, like it does feel really cool. And it's probably not really cool for most people.
Right.
But somebody my age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hanging out there, Griffey was the man.
Mm-hmm. He was actually the kid, but
He was the kid. You're right. But he was, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So anyway, that was really cool for me.
He's the reason that people in the home run the derby wear their hat backwards.
Yeah, well, he's the reason for a lot of things. He's the reason for, I mean, it was in the McCutcheon video. It was all about Griffey at the beginning. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Ken Griffey Jr. is your favorite player's favorite player.
Yeah.
Right? Baseballism.
Yep.
All right. You got anything else? You already said you didn't. You got a closing remark? Or was that pretty much yours?
Andy's in Pittsburgh when we get back from the break. Oh!
Do you think right away?
No, not really, but it'd be cool.
It would be cool. Where, no, it's interesting. Because we are home for 6 games, and then a road trip, and then the Phillies at the end of the month. What if he's there at the end of the month? I could see that.
I could.
I could see that. All right. That's all we got. Let's go Bucks.
Let's go Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!